What's the first sign someone's love is fading? It's not always loud arguments, slammed doors, or sudden requests for space. More often, it's much quieter than that. A subtle shift happens, so slight that you might miss it if you're not looking closely. Everything might look the same on the surface, the routines, the conversations, the habits, but underneath, something has already started to drift. Their heart begins to step back long before their actions make it obvious. This video isn't about drama, blame, or guessing what someone's thinking. It's about understanding the quiet truth. Because when love begins to fade, it leaves behind clues, gentle, almost invisible ones. You'll see it in how they act, how they talk, or don't, and in the small spaces where connection used to live. We're going to explore 5 early signs that often appear when someone stops loving you. These aren't just theories. They're drawn from real experiences in long-term relationships and close emotional bonds. By the end of this video, you'll be better equipped to see what's really happening. You'll have a clearer picture of whether what you're feeling is something to work through, or something to accept. Make sure to watch until the end, because one of the signs we'll talk about is one most people overlook, and it just might change how you view everything. Let's begin by looking at how love tends to leave, not with a bang, but with a quiet shift. Sign number 1. They stop being curious. One of the earliest and most unnoticed signs that love is fading is a loss of curiosity. Someone who once cared deeply about the little details of your life now barely seems to hear them. Where they once asked how your day went, how your appointment went, or how your grandkids are doing, now there's just silence or shallow nods. They stop asking follow-up questions. They don't engage. It's not about being busy or distracted. It's a sign of emotional withdrawal. Let me share a story. Edna and Paul had been married for nearly 4 decades. Edna used to share everything: how the roses finally bloomed again, how the neighbor's dog caused a ruckus, or how her book club got into a lively debate over a mystery novel. Paul used to smile, listen, and chime in with a joke or thought. But slowly that changed. He stopped looking up from the television when she spoke. His responses were reduced to grunts or absent nods. Edna felt the shift before she could explain it. The house was still full of sound, but something had gone quiet between them. It wasn't the words. It was the interest behind them that disappeared. When someone loves you, they lean in. They notice. They care. They remember the little things because those little things matter to you. And when that care fades, the first thing to go is curiosity. Here's the hard truth. It's not because you've become boring or your stories aren't worth telling. It's because they've stopped feeling connected to your world. You become background noise instead of someone they truly listen to. If you've started to feel invisible, even when you're speaking, it might be time to ask yourself, when did they stop leaning in? And why didn't I see it sooner? Because when love fades, it rarely leaves loudly. It leaves through silence, through what's no longer asked and what's no longer heard. Sign 2. Decreased patience. When someone's love begins to fade, their patience is often the first thing to go. The same things they used to smile at, laugh off, or gently correct suddenly seem to irritate them. You might be telling a story you've told before, or asking a simple question about the calendar or the groceries, and you're met with a sigh, a sharp tone, or that cold look that says, "Why are you bothering me?" What used to feel like understanding now feels like walking on eggshells. Take a moment and think about someone like Helen, 76 years old, who had always been a little forgetful. Her husband, Richard, used to tease her kindly about it. He'd help her find her glasses or remind her for the 5th time where she left her phone. It was part of their rhythm. But then it shifted. Suddenly, Richard was snapping at her. He'd mutter under his breath or roll his eyes. One day, when she asked for help logging into her online banking, he just said, "You need to figure it out yourself." Helen didn't forget that moment. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was so different from how he used to be. When someone is in love, they offer grace. They know your quirks, your habits, your weak spots. and they navigate them gently. But when love fades, even the smallest requests feel like demands to them. The shift is subtle but powerful. Where there used to be understanding, there's now resistance. And it's not about what you did wrong. It's about how they've started pulling away emotionally. Patience is often the first thread that snaps. You might start second-guessing yourself. Am I being too needy? Am I asking too much? But the truth is, it's not about needing less. It's about how they're willing to show up for you that has changed. They're no longer investing emotionally, and that shows up in the tone of their voice, the way they interrupt, the eye rolls you catch, and even the heavy silence that follows a perfectly normal question. Don't ignore that shift. It's not just moodiness or stress. It could be a sign that their heart is no longer where it once was. And if you're constantly feeling like you're a bother instead of a partner, that's something you deserve to acknowledge. If you're still watching this video and finding these signs valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Sign 3. Shared time. Fades away when love begins to drift. The first thing to go isn't always affection or conversation. It's time. Not the kind marked by clocks or calendars, but the kind that feels intentional and close. You begin to notice that shared moments are no longer shared at all. They stop inviting you into their plans, not because life is hectic, but because being together is no longer something they actively choose. They used to sit beside you during your favorite shows, step outside with you in the evenings just to feel the breeze together, or ask if you wanted to tag along for a quick errand. Now, they spend more time in different rooms. They come and go without a word. Even when they're physically present, their mind is elsewhere. The connection just isn't there anymore. Take Rye, for example. At 68, he cherished a simple daily ritual with his wife, Linda. Morning coffee at the kitchen table. Sometimes they'd talk, sometimes not. But they were together. Over time, Linda started rising earlier, going for long walks alone. The coffee was still there, but she wasn't. At first, she said she just needed a little me time. But eventually, it became the new normal, and Rye began to feel like a stranger in the life they once built together. When love is alive, people make space for each other, on purpose. Time is one of love's clearest expressions. But when that care begins to fade, so does the effort to be close. You'll hear explanations like, "I've just got a lot on my mind," or "I needed to clear my head." But actions reveal what words often try to hide. People make time for what they value. And when that time disappears, it usually isn't a mistake. It's a message. You'll notice fewer invitations, fewer shared meals, fewer conversations that stretch past, "How was your day?" Instead, you'll get phrases like, "You go ahead," or "I'll be out for a bit." It doesn't take a harsh argument or an emotional outburst. All it takes is enough mornings without them, enough lonely dinners, and enough nights spent turning over in bed with no one reaching back. That quiet absence speaks volumes. If your days are starting to feel solitary, even while you're still in a relationship, it may be time to ask yourself why. Because when love slips away, it takes your shared time with it. And that loss is often the first sign that your closeness has already begun to fade. Sign 4. The emotional door closes. There comes a point, often unnoticed at first, when someone starts shutting you out. Not physically, but emotionally. The things they used to confide in you, the thoughts they once shared so freely, start to disappear. They still speak, but it's surface level. "It's fine. I'm just tired. Nothing to worry about." But underneath, you can feel it. There's something they're no longer letting you see. When someone stops loving you, they don't always go cold. Sometimes they just go quiet. Not with their voice, but with their vulnerability. You stop being their safe place. You stop being the person they lean on when things feel uncertain or heavy. Gloria, 71, knows what that feels like. Her partner, Samuel, used to open up to her about everything. They talked about family drama, health fears, even childhood memories. But somewhere along the way, that changed. When his cousin passed away, Gloria didn't hear about it for an entire week. When she asked why he didn't tell her, he just shrugged and said, "I didn't want to bother you." But she knew. He wasn't trying to spare her. He just didn't feel close enough to share any more. This shift is rarely loud. It sneaks in over time. They stop including you in decisions, stop discussing what's really going on inside. You start to feel like you're on the outside of their life, peering in through a window. And sometimes you don't even know what's missing until you feel the gap growing. The most painful part? They may still be polite. They may still sit next to you at dinner or church. They might even say, "I love you." But their heart is no longer in the room with you. And when you reach out, when you ask, "What's wrong?" they deflect. Not with cruelty, but with distance. "I'm fine," they say. But what they mean is, "I've stopped letting you in." Emotional withholding is a form of quiet separation. It doesn't shout, but it leaves you aching. And it tells you, more than any argument ever could, that the bond has loosened. When someone stops sharing their truth, it's often because they've already stepped away inside themselves, even if their body is still sitting right beside you. Sign 5. Physical withdrawal. When emotional closeness begins to fade, the body often follows. You'll notice fewer hugs, less eye contact, no more lingering touches on the arm, or a kiss on the forehead for no reason. Even sitting together on the couch starts to feel like two people sharing space, not connection. Physical closeness, for many couples, is where unspoken love is kept alive. So when that disappears, it doesn't just feel lonely. It feels like the love has physically stepped back. Think about Martin and Alice, married for 45 years. For most of their lives, they were naturally affectionate, holding hands during walks, rubbing each other's shoulders after a long day. Martin always used to pull Alice in for a quick kiss before bed. But after his retirement, something changed. He became quieter, more distant. He'd turn his back in bed. He'd shrug off her hand when she tried to rest it on his knee while watching television. He stopped initiating any kind of touch, and slowly, Alice stopped reaching too. Not because she didn't love him, but because she didn't know where she stood anymore. Physical touch is a kind of language. It says, "I'm here. I care. I still choose you." And when someone no longer loves you, they stop speaking that language. They avoid it. They pull away. They stop reaching for your hand in public. They flinch slightly when you lean in for a kiss. It's subtle, but it cuts deep. And the longer it goes on, the harder it is to bridge that gap. It's not about passion or romance, not always. It's about presence, reassurance, the feeling that even in silence, you're still wanted. When that's gone, it's easy to question everything, to wonder if you've done something wrong. But often, it isn't about what you did. It's about how they feel and how they no longer feel drawn to you. Emotionally or physically, if you've noticed the warmth leaving the room when they walk in, or if your hugs feel more like polite gestures than genuine connection, it might be time to face what's no longer being said. Because when someone stops loving you, the body knows, and it starts showing you, one distance at a time. Final thoughts. Now that we've walked through these 5 subtle but powerful signs, take a moment, just a quiet moment, for yourself. Reflect on what you heard. Maybe one sign hit home, maybe several did. What matters most is not just noticing these patterns, but asking yourself what they're telling you about your relationship, your emotional needs, and your well-being. Because the truth is, we often feel the shift before we can explain it. That tug in your chest, the unanswered questions, the quiet ache of being next to someone who no longer truly sees you. And yet, so many of us brush it off. We say, "It's just a phase," or "Maybe I'm overthinking it." But deep down, emotional distance always leaves traces. in the silence, the withdrawal, and the sense that you're no longer being truly seen or heard. If you've been feeling that disconnect, trust that instinct. You're not being dramatic. You're not imagining things. You're sensing the difference between being loved and being tolerated. And that difference matters. This doesn't mean love is completely gone or that there's no hope, but it does mean it's time to look clearly at what's really happening, to stop carrying the entire weight of the relationship on your own, to stop shrinking yourself just to hold on to something that's slipping away. You deserve to feel emotionally safe. You deserve to be met with care, with attention, with presence. And yes, it's painful to admit when love is fading, but it's even more painful to keep pretending it's not. Because real love, the kind that lasts, isn't just words. It's action. It's curiosity. It's choosing each other again and again, even in the small moments. Thank you for spending this time with us. If something resonated with you today, we'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and share what stood out or how you're planning to move forward. Your voice matters here, and we read every word. If this video helped you, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe. Your support means everything, and it helps us keep making content that informs, uplifts, and empowers. Until next time, take care of your heart, and remember, peace isn't a luxury. It's a right.